because Errol Spence publicly has said it, that he drank too much. Wish him the best, man. Wish him stay healthy, be healthy, maintain themselves healthy, take care of their families. Life is tough, man.
Life is tough.
Make
Life
the right
is short.
decisions.
Let's make the best of it.
Make the best out of it.
Lastly, Errol Spence, what do you make when he said that? Like, what drink? He pretty much said drinking ruined his career.
Pretty much. Had a drinking problem, and I said it in the podcast kind of like as a joke, because they said, oh, when he fought Crawford, he had just come out of an accident, he had a problem with his vision, with his eyes, something, and I said, and he might have been drunk too. Kind of sounded like a joke, but it might be true.
Right.
Nigga, shut your ass up. You talk way too much, bro.
Had a drinking problem, and I said it in the podcast kind of like as a joke, because they said, oh, when he fought Crawford, he had just come out of an accident, he had a problem with his vision, with his eyes, something, and I said, and he might have been drunk too. Kind of sounded like a joke, but it might be true.
Right.
It might be true, because if he had a drinking problem, it might be true. Ryan said it. Ryan said that when he fought Tank, that he drank the day of the fight.
Shit, that's crazy.
So if that was a problem with Spence, I hope he recovers. He's a great person. He's not a bad person. He's a great man, great family man, and I wish him good. I wish him the best. Not to fight again, because life is more important.
Right.
His health is more important. So enjoy his family. He's made enough money.
He's made fat paydays.
So enjoy his family, enjoy his life. Stay away from those things that did wrong to you. Those things did wrong. Stay away from that. That's not healthy.
Is that the advice you would give Earl?
Yeah, stay away from be mentally,
He looks happy.
physically.
He got his ranch, and
and
beautiful
he's
kids.
good. Yeah, enjoy your family, enjoy your ranch, enjoy your animals. Stay away from all that bullshit. That shit brings you nothing good, nothing important, man.
Robert, you've seen it time and time
I've
again
seen it
with
many
fighters,
times.
with kids,
Many
potential,
times. Many times.
and then they just lose themselves. What do you think it happens?
Drugs, alcohol, the bad companies, friends. It ruins a lot of careers. And if Errol Spence came out announcing it, publicly admitting it, be strong mentally, physically. I don't know, go to church if you have to, man. Come to this gym and hang out in this gym. You see the fun we have over here, and it's all healthy.
It's like a family.
And it's all healthy. You know what I mean? Not to fight, just to get away from all that bullshit. Right. Get away from a lot of stuff. You have to. Sometimes you have to get away from. You got to get out of your own hometown, right, to get better. To
get a breath of fresh air.
Exactly.
And Robert, I remember you always telling me I would have loved to train Errol Spence. That would have been a cool mix.
He's a very talented fighter, man. I would love to, but he should. If he's not healthy, he shouldn't fight again. But he should just stay healthy and take care of his family.
What does Errol Spence's career look like?
I think he's a great career too. He beat great fighters. He beat Kell Brook when he became champion. Went all the way to England to become champion. Yeah. So you got to give him credit. He beat a lot of great names, a lot of great fighters. He did.
What's good, Justin family? It's your boy KB back with another video. Make sure y'all smash that like button, sub to the channel, and make sure you turn your notifications on so you can be notified when we drop more content. We got a lot more work on the way, but let's get right into it, man. So what y'all just heard was, Robert Garcia, trainer, world-renowned trainer, Robert Garcia. He did an interview on Little Giant Boxing. Y'all can go check their YouTube channel out. They do great work. He did an interview and he was talking about Errol Spence and, his career and his drinking. And, he went on to say that, Errol Spence pretty much, ruined his career drinking too much. And, we all know Errol Spence alluded to it. And in recent memory, he came out and he tweeted about, his only regret was drinking and things of that nature. So, it had a lot of people with different takes, different reactions, and a lot of people, feeling like, oh, if it wasn't for the drinking, maybe he would have beat Terrence Crawford. If it wasn't for the drinking, maybe he would have had a better career. Well, that may be true, but I'm here to say, even with the drinking that he did, this so-called so much drinking, too much drinking that he did, this drunk that a lot of people was calling him, even with all of that being said, the man still fell one fight, one belt shy of being undisputed welterweight champion. And even with all the drinking, with the injuries, the torn retina, the damn near, fatal car crash that could have took his life. With all of those different things that he went through, he still managed to have one of the most successful careers of the fighters of today's era. 3-belt unified champion, never took a tune-up, got tossed from a car, came right back fighting quality opposition, world-class opposition, such as guys like Danny Garcia. You get what I'm saying? And he turned around, he fought Ugas. He just never gave us a tune-up. He always gave us his best. And this is why they call him the truth. This is why they call him Big Fish. So, despite all of the drinking and the different things that, he put his body through, he still is very successful. And it took that absolute, in my opinion, one of the absolute best fighters in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford, to dethrone Errol the Truth Spence. And I don't think it's anything to be, to hang your head about. I mean, losing to, pound for pound, one of the absolute best fighters in all of boxing, ain't no shame in that. This guy is the epitome of what it means to be the truth. He's always stood on business. He's always gave you the fights that he said he was going to give you. Even though he fell short of his ultimate goal, it's boxing. We understand it. Losses happen. And, I think boxing is better off that him and Terrence Crawford actually sat down and made a fight. You get what I'm saying? It ended up being the biggest fight either of these guys to this day has been in. So I think it spoke volumes in terms of what it means to have a great dance partner. So, when I hear guys like Robert Garcia speak about Errol Spence and his drinking, and although he did give some heartfelt advice and he sounded like he cared about Errol Spence, like, he wanted Errol Spence he said, come hang at the gym. Shit, he even offered to train Errol Spence, but he said if he's not healthy, shit, don't fight. I just don't think Errol has anything left to prove to the sport of boxing. And, he's by far one of the absolute most disrespected one-loss fighters you'll ever encounter in sports, in boxing, especially in today's boxing. The guy lost one fight to arguably pound for pound the best fighter in today's boxing, and people threw him away, called him damaged goods. Oh, he drank too much. But he still achieved, man. He still achieved very successful career. If Errol Spence didn't box another round as a professional, he'd still go down as one of the most successful boxers in his era. And in my book, a Hall of Famer in his own right, because he's proven it, always stood on business, always gave you the best possible fights he could have gave you, and he don't got nothing to be ashamed of. But he did it in a respectful manner, right? He was tasteful with his approach, and I don't think he was throwing Earl under the bus. I don't think he was just outright saying, oh, he ruined his career. He just was speaking on the tweet that we know Errol Spence made, maybe a month or so back, when he said, he wished he would have never been drinking. The worst thing he ever did was drink. Something to that effect. Y'all know the tweet, but, good kudos to Robert Garcia, man, for giving Errol Spence his just due, his proper credit, and recognizing him just as the talent that he is. Like, he went up against Errol Spence once, with his brother Mikey Garcia, and you see how tough of a fight that was for Mikey. Still to this day, I don't think you could find a person in Mikey Garcia's career where a fight was that as one-sided as it was when he went up against Errol Spence. So, to close out, man, drinking or not, Errol Spence still is going to go down as one of the most successful boxers of his time. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, despite what, a future Hall of Famer in his own right, Terrence Bud Crawford, was on record recently saying. I seem to think differently. Even Shakur Stevenson seems to think that Errol Spence is a for sure Hall of Famer. The guys like your Danas Ugas and the Jamel Herrings of the world. So, he has no reason to hang his head. By far, like I said, one of the most successful careers. He did it his way, being the truth, giving the fans exactly the kind of fights that they wanted to see. Always standing on business, always, exemplifying what it means to be the truth in every sense of the word. But that's my take on it, man. Y'all get in the comment section and let me know how y'all feel about this. Let me know how y'all feel about the comments Robert Garcia made. Whether it's tasteful or am I just being too nice? And as always, man, get in that comment section and let me know if I gave boxing its just due, because that's what I do over here, just do boxing. Until the next one, I'm out. Peace.